Hello, this is the equation solving lesson or review. I'm hoping it's review because that'll make this easier on you if you've solved some equations in the past. This is just some basic information about equations versus expressions and solving. And so when we're trying to solve an equation, that means that we're isolating the x and we're trying to get it on one side of the equation by itself. And the golden rule of equation solving says to do unto one side as we do unto the other, because whatever we do, we have to do to both sides. And that means on either side of the equal sign. So when I'm talking about sides, that's what I mean. When we're solving, we're trying to isolate that x and get it by itself. So in this case, I have a positive 9, x plus 9. So if I subtract 9, minus 9 is going to give me a 0. And I find that x equals 6. Now notice it's 6 equals x, but I can write that as x equals 6 because I can switch sides and that's perfectly okay because notice they're the same thing. One side has the x, one side has the 6. You can check your answer and you can see if I put 6 back in for x, then 6 plus 9 is 15 and it checks. Okay, on this one, before we can do anything else, we have to do some multiplication, right? So I have to multiply these two numbers, 0.7 times 530, and you can see that that's going to be 371. And then I will subtract 371 in order to solve this equation. And so when I subtract that, I get 361.5. Also notice that I said we would round this to the hundredths place if necessary. So a lot of times when we're working with equations, and in this class we work with money, so we could write this as 361.50, showing that we've rounded to the hundredths place. And so that's just a common practice that we'll use. It wasn't really necessary, but okay, either way. And then on the next one, we multiply the 4 times 13.75 first. Notice both numbers are already on, well, both numbers, I'll say both numbers after I multiply, on one side together. So this is really just a calculation where we multiply the 4 times 13.75, that's where 55 came from, and then when we add those two together, we get 67.3, or we can write that as 67.30. All right, next. Now it starts to get a little bit more complicated here because notice I have x 2 times. Well, I can put these x's together. In fact, I can add those x's to get a total on my x coordinates, or my x values. So that's going to be 1.8x, right? I just added the 1 and the 0.8. These are something called like terms. So I can add x's together or I can subtract x's, either way. And then to solve this, this says 1.8 times x. So to solve, I divide by 1.8. And this allows me to find my x value. And in this case, it's 52.78. That kind of ran into that. I'll scoot it over a little bit. All right. And that is all we do. So we're undoing multiplication by dividing, and that will be a step that you will do a few different times on this equation solving. Okay, on the next one, same kind of question. We're going to add those x values together. So we'll have 1x plus 0.04x. So it will be 1.04x. And then to solve this one, we're going to divide. So we're going to be dividing by the 1.04. All right, so 1.04, remember, anything I do to one side of the equation, I must do to the other side. So when I divide by that 1.04, I find that my x is equal to 409.40, and I'm going to go ahead and put the 0 there just because that's to the 100th place. Okay, so then this gets just one step more complicated. This is a 1x, and you notice that my x's are on two sides, and I can't solve an equation unless my x's are together on just one side. So I'm going to subtract the 0.27x on both sides, and then that's going to give me 0.73, because I'm taking 0.27 away from 1, basically. That's what's happening there. And then that's equal to 53, because when I subtracted the 0.27x, that just equals 0. And so all I have left on that side is the 53. This is 0.73x, which means multiplication, 0.73 times x. And so then that's what I will divide by, 0.73, which is 73 hundredths actually. When I divide, I find that x is equal to 72.60, and it's solved. You can always go back and check it by substituting the 72.60 in for both of your x values. All right, on the next one, same kind of question, and looks like I have a typing error on there a little bit. That between the 7 and the 4, I can't find this one. Let's see. Okay, so I guess I must have switched this, but anyway, I'm going to subtract 0.58x, and that's equal to my 74. If I take a 1 and subtract 0.58, I get 0.42. And then I divide by 0.42 on both sides. Let's see. I'm dividing right now with a calculator, you know, the quick way. And I'm going to round that to 176.19. Okay. And the next question is kind of going back to what we did earlier, where we had the x's on the same side. Add those together, right? That's a 1, so it's 1.3x, and then we divide by 1.3. Whoops. And x is, notice my x ends up on this side a lot. You know what? We can just say x equals 40, because it doesn't matter which side we put the x on. And then on this one, it's just one of those calculation questions. 8.87 plus, now I'm multiplying 5 times 14.24, and that happens to be 71.2. And then I add those together for a total of 80.07. So this is just a quick we go back and do one of each type of equation. Here's one where we have to subtract. So remember, the x's have to be on the same side, and we want just x's on that side once we get them there, right? So we're taking 1 and we're subtracting 0.37. So that's 0.63. X equals 92.54. And then we're dividing by 0.63. And x equals 146.89. And then that is the end of the equation solving lesson, and you will be practicing this from here on out. Bye.